Okay crew, today we are going over vertical jumping and the tuck jump. So with the tuck jump, what we're looking for is people to start hands in front, load behind, bending at the knees, not too deep, weights on the balls of the feet. They're going to stand all the way up in the jump and swing the arms up, load behind and land. So when they come down, they want their arms behind them and they don't want to fall backwards. So if you see people rolling back on their heels, you guys, you don't want to roll back on your heels. Landing in this position where you have balance, can slowly progress to jump higher and higher and trying to stick targets on the ground. Maybe they're looking at a line. If you're looking at a line when you're training it, you can try and aim for that line. Step 2 in vertical jumping is going to be the step up. So this is going to look a lot like a jump in that our arms are going to start behind us. They'll initiate and we'll sink and push through the lead leg. As the arms start, the foot steps up, and then you use the leverage of the arms to continue the body, lifting up and then stepping down. All right, crew, the next step in the progression is going to be the jump to crane. So when we jump, we're going to load our hands behind us, okay, kind of like jumping on top. And then when we land, we're going to try and make the back foot be real soft, so don't kick real hard into the wall. Set, jump, and here. So this foot almost plants first and nice and soft as we go into it. That's the goal that we're going for. What we don't want is for it to look like this, because you end up stubbing your toe and a lot of your forward momentum is still carried. We're trying to control where we land, and that's why landing about the same time in soft play will help us with that. Okay crew, the next thing you're going to need to know is the bounce back. So before we start jumping 2 feet onto an object, we're going to learn the bounce back because that's the bail for that technique. Bounce back looks like this. Okay, nice and soft. I have control of my body. Notice I didn't have to lean or step back. So the progressions for learning that is more about being aware and knowing where to step. So that's going to look like this. You can start here and then put 1 foot up and then come back down. Okay, so get used to both feet, being able to sort of receive the weight but not step on top of the box, and just get used to that rebound. And that can get a little bit higher. And then you can work towards the touch. So that's taking the step and then touching until you're able to do this or this. All right? Getting very used to not actually putting your weight on the box, but sort of being weightless for a second and be able to adjust your feet in those cool different patterns. The step up there, or doing the same way you came up and you're really comfortable. That way if you jump to the box and fail, you're already used to bouncing off of something. Okay crew, so now we're looking at the actual box jump or shorter precision jump, 2-foot jump here on top. Things we want to focus on is make sure we've already tried the progressions beforehand, no matter what that height is, until you're super comfortable with it. Then you're going to use your arms just like the standing jump. Load behind, make sure that you extend all the way when you stand up, and then you tuck your toes in. That's very important. That way you don't capture your feet and shin the way down, okay? So you don't want that. Here, load, open, boom, okay? So then we're pulling our feet up and we're landing with our toes on top, using our arms to counterbalance, and we're not leaning backwards. Okay crew, we're talking about now jumping to something that's outside of your 2-foot box jumping distance, and we're talking about something that you can maybe get to with 1 leg or a crane. In this case, we'll call this a deep crane. Heard it called before? I'm calling it the deep state crane. All right, so same approach here, but now you're coming in with just in this position, the crane position. All right, it's called that, I assume, for Karate Kid reasons. All right, so I take my approach here, and then as I jump up, I'm going to use my same approach as the lower crane, where this foot might sort of soften the landing, and the other foot steps on top, keeping my chest forward so that I control the bounce back, okay? And I can use my hands here, and I'm in this deeper position, and then I can transition into something QM, or I can just stand up for that position, all right? I'm going to demonstrate another one for you. Step. As we get more confidence into moving out of that deep state crane into like the mid state crane or a higher crane in a jump, sometimes we have to bail out of that technique. And we use some footwork to do that. So the technique I'm talking about getting to is a higher crane, just meaning I'm landing in a higher crane position, like this. Okay? Sometimes we bail out of that. And the way we can practice that with students is we can stand here, and where this is a shorter height, less risk. The slants are better if you guys want to practice on that. And all you're going to do is you're going to take your steps. So I'm here, 1, 2, and then I step away, okay? That can translate up higher as well. Here.
Once your feet hit, and then you can fall.
Okay? And so if you're working on your progressions and you want to go to those higher cranes or take higher risk jumps, or sometimes even working laches to crane, having your awareness of where your body is and how to turn out of that landing in a controlled fashion instead of landing like this and spilling over backwards is a control that you're going to need. Okay, working into the precision jump crew, when we jump 2 foot or 1 foot to an object and then we stick the landing or we halt our forward momentum, we describe that as a precision. Because typically the object is nice and tight or smaller. We would, out of good habit, stick this, but technically we have plenty of room if we needed to move forward. So if I do the 2 foot precision, which in many cases is harder depending on what you've maintained or what you've been training, I get more power out of 2 legs, but the coordination element, I have to have a high level of commitment and not bringing momentum into it. This one, when you're a beginner, you want to get your heels on top of the object. That's why you would train it on something this deep, okay? So if I do my precision jump here, I'm going to aim to get my feet on top, all right? As skill level increases, I may raise the precision to a higher target, okay? Which require me maybe to be better at where I'm landing. Or if I'm a beginner and I'm trying to work my skill, but I don't have as much strength and power, once I've mastered that technique and there isn't as much of a risk of me tripping because my feet are flexed and my knees are up high enough, coach says, or you observe that there's enough room for you to travel above, then you can start moving your feet backwards. But this requires strong ankle strength, right? So if I come here and land in this position, now I'm only relying on my calves and ankles to keep me up. The benefit is it's more precise and I can start jumping to more and more narrow things. The risk is that if I have a lot of power coming into my landing and I can't control it, I can peel out this direction, or I can hyper flex the ankle and sprain the ankle. That can happen too. So you want to make sure your ankles and calves are really strong and you're already well calibrated with this targeting position before you start moving your feet off the box. All right, crew, so as we progress, you must have all those fundamentals down, not just your first day. You've been repping them out, and you make sure that there's a ton of confidence in it, all right? You've been training it for a while. We can then start combining the movements. So here, if we do a plyo, which is combining it into one movement, where we use the muscle rebound and recoil to send us into another movement and get more velocity, or if we're just doing 2 jumps and we want to shorten that amount of time. I'll explain. So if I do a jump here, I'll use the basics, all right? So the first one will be a precision, but the next one will be one of those cranes, all right? So I'll start here. This gives me more safety, and I've combined 2 of them because this is a safer position to prepare for combining the movements up here. Once I'm very comfortable, and I'm maybe even able to start landing that in a higher crane, it might look like this, all right? You know, when you start to see that you're confident enough and there's not a lot of sway in any of that, you want to be really careful that there's absolute control. Then you can start to link the 2 into the 2 plyo precisions. Okay? And then that's how you begin to progress through even the fundamentals, combining those basics into making them more complicated for the intermediate to novice to intermediate level athlete.